36 from 3. Bench 32-27, but it did not matter. Points off turnovers, the big one, 16-5. Earlier today, our Laker insider Mike Bresnan caught up with the Lakers general manager, Rob Pelinka, to get his thoughts.
The good news for the Lakers, a lot of depth on this team. And how important is that to have not just a quality starting 5, but a strong, 1 through 15 team, more or less?
Yeah, Mike, again, that was something that was really intentional as the front office was sort of, coming up with our strategy for this team. Just having come out of the bubble experience where, guys had to come and go a little bit and teams had quarantine issues. We knew that this year, with kind of the soft bubble that we're in, where teams are traveling around, that we wanted to have a deep team. And I think on a night, if we're missing a couple good players, we'll still be amazingly competitive, because I think Frank Vogel and others at the beginning felt like this was one of the deeper teams in recent history, and that was intentional for sure.
Rob, if I know you like I do, you're always looking for ways to make yourself better, your people around you better, the players better. The trade deadline, still a couple months away, and of course the veterans buyout session after that typically. Do you see the team being active? Obviously the Lakers off to a great start, but there's always ways to tinker and maybe even improve, isn't there?
One of the things you're always doing in the front office is you're running scenarios just to be prepared. I've said at the beginning of the season, sometimes it feels like a grand chess game, and you want to study the moves and study what other teams are doing. And so we're always doing that, but at the same time, you don't want to tinker or change something that's working extraordinarily well. And so we'll be mindful of that too. We do have one open roster spot right now that at some point in the season will probably get use. We wanted to use the first, third to really see where the holes are or the needs are. But that's definitely a tool at some point that'll come into play. And, then you were talking about the trade deadline too. You never know what may come your way. And so we're preparing in advance for that, just to make sure we're doing all we can to defend the title.
All right, Brez, your conversation with Rob Pelinka talking about the new additions.
Yeah, he's obviously very happy about what they've done. I mean, when you had a guy like Schroeder and Montrez, that's going to make your team better. Marc Gasol, he's not going to score 20 points and get 10 rebounds every night like he used to in Memphis. But what he does on the court with his poise, you can tell Rob Pelinka really appreciates the new guys. And why not? I mean, this team has been really playing at a high level tonight, an obvious exception. I wonder, though, and you heard him talk a little bit about the near future, trade deadline, about 2 months away. Then, of course, all the vets buyouts after that. He's not going to reveal his cards. Not even he knows what moves he's going to make. But I wonder if the Lakers maybe go after another shot-blocking big man. You mentioned the stat earlier. Yep. They really had only one block shot till late in the game when it was irrelevant. I feel like maybe one more guy, one more big man down low. They still have that one open spot on the roster.
Yeah, I think there's the one critique, at least from people, about the roster or a need for this Laker team, even though they were #1 in defensive efficiency and they had the best record in the league up until a couple nights ago, is the fact that they lost a little bit of length, and do they need a shot blocker, and can they get one later down the road?
Well, it would be nice. Shot blocking is a big part of their offense, to be able to block a shot, keep it in play, get going on the fast break, it kind of altering shots. There were a lot of times last season when players would drive into the paint, they wouldn't even take the shot. They would know that they were shot blockers there. So it would be something, if they could find somebody that could come in and be consistent there, it can only help them. But the other player that I hope they can find, a consistent offense for is Wes Matthews, because he can shoot. Remember the one game he had the 6 threes? They haven't found that rhythm for him yet. He sets picks and tries to step back quick. It's not quite developing yet. I'd like to see him get a little bit more consistent. I know he can do it. He's playing really hard, but he's a specialist at shooting. That can help as well.
Well, we want to talk about previews to maybe NBA Final. If we look at last night's game, we definitely need another big because AD can handle him, but he can't do it for 48 minutes. I'm talking about Joel Embiid. And we saw Marc Gasol just too slow to guard him. So they need another big. And Trez is too short. So if you want to have a preview to a finals, that was a perfect preview to say, we need another big, and they need to find something.
We saw it in Drummond, too. When Drummond
would someone be able to argue that and say, Rob, but last year in the playoffs, they rarely used their bigs?
Last year in the playoffs, they rarely had a big they went up against.
Yeah.
You know, the only one they had was in Denver, and he's not
If you're playing
really,
Philly, it's a different story.
It's not truly a big. You think about it. Tell me one other big they played against in the playoffs.
And actually,
Well,
Dwight was effective against Jokic.
Yes,
a couple
yes.
of
Whether you use them or not, you need them for when you have
Just
to
like
use them
Dwight.
against
And by the
them.
way, great in the regular season.
Yeah.
If
Two
we,
of the
didn't,
Lakers
if we didn't have
dominant
Dwight
last year.
who didn't play a lot of minutes, if we didn't have Dwight to go up against Jokic, that would have been a problem.
He helped
Would've
win
been a
that
problem.
series. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
And
No
Frank
doubt.
Vogel, some nice moves. He put Markieff Morris in there in a couple of the playoff games to kind of mess with the other team. I think that was the Houston series. They were coming out with Robert Covington as their center.
Yeah.
He's
Yes.
all of, 6'7". So, I mean, you're right, Rob, when you say not a lot of brute force needed in the playoffs last season. That could change, especially if the Lakers get to the finals this season.
Yeah, Rob and the staff have done an incredible job putting together this roster, and like you said, they're going to keep it close to the vest.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a move down the road. We shall see, but this team, pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Hard to go out and get better or
It's-
deeper
And,
after a
you know,
championship.
it's not time to panic yet, but
It's just
if
something
the,
you're-
if the
yeah,
one
yeah.
thing that's obvious is the shot block.
It's just something to make you go,
Maybe just a little.
Because other teams are aware of it. They're aware of it. They're going to the cup. They're not afraid. Detroit tonight, they had no worries about, a shot blocker being there. So
Who are some of the names
something
out there?
to think about.
Who are some of the names out there?
Well, our old friend JaVale McGee, he's now on a team with tons of centers in Cleveland. You got Drummond, who's actually going to be a free agent. People expect him to be dealt. He has a giant price tag. They just traded for Jared Allen. I don't see him moving, but JaVale McGee might be a guy that gets a buyout.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's going to get traded. He'd be obviously a good fit for this team. We know what he can do.
Yeah. All right, guys, good stuff. More to come on Access. THT with 13 points off the bench in the loss. We're back with more post-game reaction after.